Welcome, 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 welcome to the Mind Fuck Podcast. Yay! Welcome, 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 welcome once again, my friend. Thank you so much for taking time out to hang out with me. I'm really, really, really grateful and excited you're here. My name is Wanu Alishe. Sometimes I do go by Amazing Soul. Welcome to the Mind Fuck Podcast. FCK stands for fun, compassion, and kindness. Welcome. Before we continue into the show, we have this tradition that we do where I read out a list that I titled Reminders to Being Human. The intention behind that, reading that list every time before the show, is to remind myself, but also in the hopes of reminding you on your journey. All right, let's get into it. Reminders to being human. Have fun along the journey. Show yourself compassion. Be kind to others. Being complex and being simple can hold true in the same breath. Stay curious. Hold space for pauses. Hold space for not knowing. Never underestimate the power of silence. Nature has a lot of wisdom. Pay attention. There is power in we than I. If nothing else makes sense, come back to love. Pain is our greatest teacher. And the very last one, never underestimate your ripple of existence. Welcome, 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 welcome once again, my friend. Let's get started on today's episode. I'm pretty excited about today's episode. All right. I want to start today with something that might feel a little confronting. Regulation is not always calming, is not always peaceful, and regulation is definitely not always comfortable. That's the part that no one really talks about. We talk about nervous system regulation sometimes like it's a spa day, like it's deep breathing and soft music and feeling grounded and serene. Well, sometimes it is, yeah. But sometimes the truth is, regulation feels like sitting still while your whole body wants to run. Regulation feels like not reacting when every cell in you wants to defend itself. I mean, regulation feels like not scrolling on your phone when you can feel the urge rising in your chest. It feels like staying. And staying, my friend, is not glamorous. That's the truth. It's uncomfortable, but that's the truth, my friend. And you see, for me on my journey for a very long time, I thought regulation meant I was supposed to feel calm. I thought if I wasn't calm, I assumed I was failing. And this happened especially after I left the army in 2022, right? And that season of my life was one of the most dysregulated seasons I have ever lived through. I mean, I was transitioning out of the military medically. I was in chronic lower back pain. I was barely sleeping. I mean, sometimes 2 to 4 hours a night. I was exhausted as fuck. And I was also wired constantly at the same time. And because I was already doing the work, I mean, I was already reading, regulating, learning about the nervous system, I literally thought, man, I should be further along now. I mean, I thought to myself, man, I know better. Why is my body still like this? Man, that question that I kept asking myself alone created more tension in my body, right? And here's the uncomfortable truth I had to face on my journey. My body did not care what I intellectually understood. No, my body cared about safety. And safety, my friend, it's not a concept. It's a felt experience. And in that season of my life, my body did not feel safe at all. Not because something dramatic was happening every day. No, but because for so many decades, through high-paced military life, through pushing through pain, through constant performance, my system had learned to survive in urgency. And urgency for me had become normal. Stillness felt suspicious to my body. That's the part we don't talk about. When your system is used to chaos, calm can feel very threatening. I'll share with you. I remember one specific night, I had done everything right, in air quotes. I mean, I had turned off my phone, placed it away from my bedside, and I just laid in bed. The room was quiet, and my heart just started racing. I mean, nothing was physically wrong in my environment, but my body reacted as if something was about to happen. And that's when I started to realize regulation wasn't about forcing calm. No, it was about teaching my body that nothing bad was happening right now. And that, my friend, required patience I did not have a few years ago. You see, the uncomfortable truth about regulation is this: it often feels worse before it feels better. Because the thing is, when you start to slow down, you finally feel what was already there. I mean, the tightness in your chest, the grief you did not have a chance to process, the anger that had nowhere to go. And for me, that anger started way before I was in the military. For me, that anger started as a child. You see, I was a very defiant child. I mean, I was that child that questioned everything. I struggled so much with rules. I mean, I struggled with authority. I struggled with being told what to do because that's how it is. I just questioned everything as a child. And I also grew up in a culture where physical discipline was just normalized. Compliance was expected, and questioning things was not rewarded. On the outside, I learned to comply. On the inside, I learned to tighten. And that tightening that I did for decades stayed in my nervous system. And when I became an adult, especially in like highly structured environments, that old pattern would reactivate. So when I began practicing regulation, what came up wasn't serenity. No, it was decades of stored emotional charge. There's another uncomfortable truth I would love to share with you. True regulation is boring as fuck. We don't like to admit that. I'll tell you this right now. It's not dramatic. It's not performative. It doesn't get applause. I mean, it looks like placing your feet on the floor in the morning when you wake up and slowly looking around your room. I mean, it looks like yawning and letting the yawn complete its cycle. I mean, it looks like drinking a glass of water very slowly and having the feeling of hydration going down your throat. I mean, it looks like noticing the sensation in your chest and saying to yourself internally, I'm simply noticing the sensation in my chest area for 90 seconds. Not trying to fix it, no labeling it, no turning it into another breakthrough. Just noticing the sensation. And I'll tell you this, I have done that thousands of times over the last few years. Sometimes it feels profound. Most times it feels ordinary as fuck. But over time, something started to shift. The intensity of my emotional charges started to decrease. Not because I forced them down, but because I stopped fighting them and myself. Another uncomfortable truth, my friend. Regulation doesn't make you untriggered. Oof, far from it. It makes you aware of the trigger sooner. On my journey right now, I still feel activation, right? I still feel tightness in my chest sometimes when I'm about to say no. Yes. I still feel some of the old people pleasing reflex in my body before I even open my mouth. But the difference now is I catch it. You see, my friend, that space between stimulus and response, that's regulation. I'll tell you, it is subtle as fuck. And it is earned through repetition, not intensity. That's how you earn that. Cumulatively, my friend. Over time. And a lot of motherfucking patience. You see, when I was struggling with sleep in my journey for a very long time, one of the biggest shifts for me was letting go of trying to force sleep. And I'll tell you, I don't resonate with sleeping pills. No. What I needed was not sedation. What I needed was safety. So back a few years ago when I would wake up around like 2-3 a.m., instead of judging myself, I would just place my hand on my chest and I just notice the sensation. And sometimes I would whisper to myself, Wanu, nothing is wrong. Sometimes I would just feel the bed under my body. Sometimes I still got only 4 hours of sleep. But I will tell you this. Over time, 4 hours became five, five became six, and eventually, some nights even became 7 or 8. I'll tell you this right now. That did not happen in a week. It took months. And that's the uncomfortable truth no one markets. Regulation is slow as fuck. It is seasonal. It respects cycles. That's the truth. It's uncomfortable. I know. But that is the uncomfortable truth, my friend. I'll share this with you. There was also a pivotal moment in my life in 2002. I was in a very, very low place mentally. I mean, chronic pain, sleep deprivation, existential crisis after leaving the military. And I had a mentor say to me that made me angry at the time. He told me to take full responsibility for my life. 4 years ago, I didn't want to hear that shit. 4 years ago, I wanted validation. 4 years ago, I wanted comfort. 4 years ago, I wanted someone to tell me it wasn't my fault. But you see, over time, that statement shifted something. Not in a harsh way, in a very grounded way. I started to realize that regulation was not about controlling my environment. No. Regulation was about taking responsibility on how I related to my internal experience. Yes, that's uncomfortable because it removes the excuse that someone else has to change first. Another truth. Regulation can make you feel less dramatic. I'll tell you that from lived experience. Right? And if you've been used to a lot of intensity, that can feel like losing your personality initially. You see, on my journey, when I stopped reacting quickly, when I stopped over explaining myself, when I stopped trying to prove a point, there was this quietness that felt almost unfamiliar. I mean, I started asking myself, like, who am I if I'm not reacting? Who am I if I'm not defending? I tell you this, my friend, that identity shift is subtle, but it is real. Regulation changes how you move in the world. And it's not in a flashy way. It's in a very steady way. Here's one more uncomfortable truth. Regulation can cost you relationships that were built on dysregulation. You see, my friend, when you stop people pleasing, when you pause before responding, when you don't engage in urgency, some dynamics start to shift. Not everyone likes the regulated version of you. And that can feel lonely as fuck. But it also can feel clean, non-distorted. Ah, if I could summarize what regulation has taught me over the years, it's this. It's not about becoming calm all the time. No, it's about becoming safe enough to feel, safe enough to sit with discomfort, safe enough to let an emotional wave move through your body without building a story around it, safe enough to not fix everything immediately. There is a phrase I live by now. I would love to share with you. Less perfection, more consistency. Less intensity, more consistency. And a lot of goddamn patience. I'll tell you this, my friend. Regulation is not a performance. It's a relationship with your body. A relationship with your younger self. A relationship with past patterns. And relationships are built through repetition. Do you see, my friend? I know it's uncomfortable. I know. So if you're on this journey, my friend, and it feels uncomfortable, if slowing down feels worse before it feels better, if noticing things you used to numb, if you're currently noticing things you used to numb, I want to tell you this. You're not failing, you're feeling. And feeling is the part of updating the nervous system. That's the messy middle, my friend. The uncomfortable truth about regulation, it asks you to stay. It asks you to stay with the sensation, stay with the boredom, stay with the slowness, stay with yourself. And that, my friend, might be the bravest thing you would ever do on your journey. I'll leave you with this. Next time you feel an activation in your body, instead of asking yourself, how do I make this stop? Pause and try asking this. Can I stay with this sensation in my body right now for 90 seconds? Not forever. 90 seconds. That's how trust begins. Not with intensity, with presence. And over time, presence becomes safety, and safety becomes freedom. As always, my friend, I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you so much for listening, my friend. And I'm sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Thank you.